Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Know What to Do Everyday workshop. I'm looking around all over the place because we've run into a little bit of a technical difficulty. Google Meet is not able to stream into our Facebook group, so this won't be live streamed, but this will be your replay. So I've put up a link in the group to ask people to join me live if they do want to see this with me. And if not, that's okay. If I'm doing this alone, I don't mind. If you've got questions, it would be great if you could leave them down below. Obviously, we're all doing replays, so if you don't mind helping us boost the algorithm so everybody in the group has the chance to see it, if you could just leave hashtag replay just to let us know that you did actually stop and watch it, that would be fabulous. We want to make sure that the content and the training that we're bringing you is high quality and that it's valuable for the majority of people in the group, because if it's not, why bother, right? So letting us know that you watched it really helps us to understand whether or not we're providing the things that you need. I was really hoping that Carolyn would be able to join us today, but she's not able to because she is in Utah attending a convention for USANA, which is a product that she just is very passionate about and loves to promote. You may have heard from her about that. I have no idea. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and get started because I did put the link in. Nobody's asking to join, so that tells me that nobody wants to come on the camera with me, and that's okay. It's okay to be camera shy. I'm not. All right, so if we are ready, we're going to do this one. Oh, Joanne Burke is ready to come in. Just one second. Okay. Ooh, what is going on there? We're going to stop sharing because that is really weird. We'll just stop sharing that. Okay, so we're going to let Joanne in. Oh, maybe Joanne disappeared. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, there's Joanne. Hey, Joanne. How are you?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you.
I wasn't sure.
So, no, I can hear you. I don't know if others are going to join us or not. There was a bit of a technical glitch.
I
So
just
we're
got it.
recording this so that we can upload the replay instead of doing the live stream in. So thank you so much for being here. I'll actually have a guinea pig.
Awesome.
You know how I like my guinea pigs.
I can only
So
stay 15 minutes or so though, so that's the only thing.
that's okay. No problem. You leave when you need to. That's no problem at all. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to get started if that's okay, Joanne.
Of course, yes, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to share this one. All right. Oh, 1 second. My little cameo went missing. Let me turn on the, so I have to turn off my camera here. Let me turn off my camera here so that I can turn on my camera here. There we go. Okay. Technology. Everybody who knows me knows my fun time with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can you see that, Joanne? Can you see a screen that says
Now I
know what
can,
to
yes.
do each day? Okay. And it's
Yeah.
just the one screen, right? And it's got me up in the corner.
Yes, in a lovely circle.
Okay.
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a quick introduction because although many of you do know who I am, others won't. So I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction to who I am. We're going to talk quickly about what our objective is in this. In this workshop, we're going to talk about the 3 daily activities that I always say are the things that you want to establish as daily minimums. I call them your base numbers. And then we want to talk about actually calculating your ratio. And then, of course, there will always be an offer to get additional support. I think that goes without saying. So it sounds like there might be somebody else trying to get in. So let me see if I can admit Aoife. I think that's Aoife coming in. Excuse me. If that's you, Aoife, say hi. Okay. So let's just move on quickly about who I am. So my name is Danielle Wilson, and I have been in business for over 35 years. I've been a leader for most of that. I've been a manager since I was 18 at Burger King. That was my first job. I started my very first business when I was 17. I was a hall decorator with balloons and a party clown. And some of you who know me will be going, hee hee hee, party clown, because I'm a bit of a goof. And what I do now is I call myself the growth alchemist. And the reason I do that is because I'm talking about taking the lead, the dead weight that's in your business, and turning that into the gold in your business. So what I do is I help you identify what your greatest opportunities are for profitable growth. And the goal with that is to help you to 2 to 3 times your revenue. So I call it revenue. And I've heard recently that I do still talk a lot of corporate lingo. Revenue would be income. In a business, though, we would call that revenue. So if you're still thinking of yourself as self-employed, you might still call it income, because you're not really looking at the whole capital gains and all of those other things. So that's just too much information. We'll stop there. But my goal is to do this with the least amount of investment. So investment in my world could be time, it could be energy, or it could be financial, right? So that's what we're really trying to do, is to reduce how much you have to put in order to get the maximum out. And I do work with 6-figure businesses, those that are kind of in that space between being a startup and being scaled. So you've been in business for about a year, maybe a little bit more. Could have been that you've been longer. That's okay too. But the idea is that you're either at or approaching the 6 figures, and you're now in a place in your head and in your life where scaling becomes an opportunity. And you'd love to know, how do I do this without adding more time? Because we all got into business to be able to have more time with our family, right? It's about work-life balance. It's not necessarily about creating this 80-hour work week, because we want to work 80 hours for ourselves, but we don't want to work 40 for somebody else. I'm like that. And I was always the workaholic. So that's who I am. And let's talk a little bit about what our objectives are today. Objective number 1 is to get very clear on what the 3 fundamental actions, if you can't see my finger offline, I talk with my hands a lot. Get very clear on the 3 fundamental actions that we need to take every day. I call these base numbers, as I'd already said, and that's what I'm saying in the next one. But I think that when I talk about base numbers, it sounds a lot like Greek to a lot of people, because as soon as you start talking numbers, and because I do calculate numbers in my head very quickly, I have a tendency to kind of run on and ramble through them. So I'm going to try to slow that down today so that you can get a real solid understanding of what those 3 activities are, how they interconnect with each other, why you would do certain things a little bit more and some things a little bit less. And then we're going to talk about doing what I call a min-max system. And if you've ever done inventory management, you'll be familiar with that term. But in this case, we're talking about what's the minimum that I need to do each day in order to be able to scrape by, right? We all have our days when we just don't feel like it. And yet, the things that we do today are really impacting what's happening 2 to 3 months from now. Even when it comes to our lead process, although it does happen that you meet somebody today and they're ready and willing to buy today, that's not the norm. Well, unless you've got water and you're in a desert, I guess then it would be like, give it to me today, right? Anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Those are our actual objectives. So how do I help you grow your sales? In reality, there's really only 4 ways to grow your sales. You can increase the number of customers, right? So that would be a result of your lead generating. That would be a result of your direct outreach, all of those things. So increasing the total number of customers that are buying from you. The next thing would be to increase the average transaction size. So if you have ever worked in retail, you might have heard them talk about basket size. So when you go into your local grocery store, you rarely ever just buy one thing. You typically buy multiple things. When you go to a restaurant, you rarely just buy the entree. You typically purchase a drink, perhaps an appetizer, maybe even a dessert. It's the combination of all of the things that a person buys. So if you're in a coaching or service-based industry, it could be that, if you could sell them your book along with your VIP day, along with, a 30-day program. It's the combination of all of it. So this relates to how much each customer is worth to your business. The third one is to increase how frequently they buy from you, right? So we talk about repeat business, recurring business, client retention. That's what falls into here. And then the last one, of course, is the one that we all get a little bit nervous about. Well, I shouldn't say we all do, but many of us get nervous about, and that is the idea of increasing our prices. When you want to grow your sales, when you want to increase your income, when you want to grow your revenue, no matter which term you use, The bottom line is how much money goes in the bank. When you want to increase how much money is going in your bank account, it's one of these 4 ways. These are really the only 4 ways to do that. Well, I guess that's not entirely true, but that's when you're getting into acquisitions and other things like that. So let's talk about what these income producing activities are. But I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. I'm going to do a quick check. Everybody good? Everybody's good. Hello, Aoife. I see you there. Hello.
Yes, I'm balancing a 2-year-old. So
awesome. Hi, Eve. Okay, so let's go back then, if that's all right. Okay, so we're going to talk about what those income producing activities are. There's lots of income producing activities. We're going to talk about the 3 basic ones, the ones that I call fundamentals. Those are the ones we're going to talk about today. The first one that we want to talk about is building your audience. So building your audience, if you've ever seen the funnel before, oh, come over here, funnel, right? The funnel is shaped like this. It's much larger on the top than it is on the bottom. What that really is meant to do is to signify this idea that you got to throw a lot in the top to get a little bit out the bottom. If you've ever used a funnel to pour something into a jar, if you've ever used a funnel to put extra gas in your gas tank or the oil in your engine, that funnel, you know that you're pouring a lot in at the top, the funnel starts to fill up, and then it slowly drips down. Building your audience is like what you're pouring in the top. Building your audience is a core thing because when you've started to talk to everybody, once you've actually gotten through everybody, you need more people to talk to. So continuing on a daily basis to continue to be making new connections is a really core critical thing that you need to do. Now, I've always said, and I'll say it still today, I still stand by this, building your audience does not necessarily mean adding friends on Facebook, but that should be something that you do. Whether that is adding people to your Facebook profile, adding people to your Facebook page, adding people to your Facebook group. I'm going to talk Facebook because that's where we are right now. That's where we're all operating and enjoying this workshop is through Facebook. So I know we all do something here on Facebook, but whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, all the others, YouTube, all of them. Building your audience is an essential ingredient to being able to grow your business. It's giving you a wider audience that you can talk to. So this is specifically every day in some way, shape, or form, it's important that you're continuing to grow that network of connections that you've got. And in general, that could include potential collaborators. It could be potential investors. It could be people that may not be a good fit for you, but they may know people. Sure, that's building your network, but I'm not talking about all of those. I'm talking specifically about adding people to your network that are going to be aligned with your vision of your ideal client avatar. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I know that the ladies that are with me today are actually on mute, so that's okay. But ladies, feel free to take yourself off of mute and ask any questions. I don't know that I will see the hand raising, but by all means, just interrupt me. I'm not opposed to that at all, okay? So how do you do that? How do you build that audience? What are the kinds of activities that I'm specifically talking about that you need to do on a daily basis in order to grow your network of potential customers, right? So that would be, like I said, adding people to your social media audience, no matter which social media platform you work with. It could mean that you're asking your existing customers or other people that you know in your network. It could be that you're asking for referrals. It could be that you're making appearances like on podcasts or in another group or doing a guest training spot in a Facebook group, ways that you're making yourself visible that are attracting people to you as you build your authority and share your expertise. Those are ways that you're attracting people to you. Networking is a great way. And I love the idea of networking because if you are more a person that communicates verbally, then networking is a great way to do that. And it's maybe a little bit more comfortable for you than constantly needing to be putting written posts up that you then got to go back to. Networking happens in a tight, concise amount of time, right? Email list signups, that's another way to build your audience. And it's a pretty passive one, except that you do have to put your link out there somewhere, right? So you've got to have a plan in place for where am I going to put this link, and ask people, how do I make it seductive enough that people are going to want to join my email list, because there's thousands of them. So I'm going to turn it over to the women in the workshop with me. See if I can come back on. Oh, I cannot, because I am now. Oh, technology. Ladies, have you got any other ideas, any other suggestions of ways that you can build your audience? Okay. Leave some comments in the chat below the video, I mean. And if you've got suggestions, I'm sure we'd all love to benefit from those. All right. So when this does finally go live in the group, feel free to share your ideas on the thread so that others can benefit from what you know. All right. Let's move on to the next one. So nurturing in this sense is not about posting. Posting is not nurturing, it's advertising, and its purpose is to start conversations. And when I say that nurture and have conversations to identify your prospects, that's what I'm talking about. I am actually talking about direct conversations that you're having with people. That needs to happen daily. And I know that can feel really scary. It doesn't have to happen in DM. It can be on the phone. Oh, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But it does mean talking with them directly. And your purpose in doing this is to understand whether or not this is a person who would be a qualified prospect. Prospect and lead are very much the same thing. Lead feels more salesy to me than prospect. So I've always said prospects. If you prefer to use lead, just interchange that word there. But it really does mean talking directly with them. This isn't about putting up a post and running away. This isn't about sending out an email. That's not a direct communication. So I'm talking about doing direct communications. The emails that you send and the posts that you put up, I want you to think about them more like ads. They are something that a person can just continue to scroll by. Your purpose with that is absolutely to try to engage with them, but you want to be able to have a conversation with them. And that's how you can identify them. Just because a person liked your post or hearted your post, even if they say love this, heck, even if they left a question on your post or made a more long-winded comment, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a prospect. You need to actually have a conversation with them to understand, do they have the problem that I solve? Are they open to having it? Are they open to having it solved? And are they in a position to actually take action? So whether that means having their mindset ready, whether that means having the time. There's two offers that I'd really love to be able to take advantage of right now, but I don't have the time. So that makes me a less qualified prospect for those particular business owners. So can I solve the problem? Do they have the means? Are they ready for it? That's the three things. I feel like I'm rambling now. Let's move on. Okay. Qualifying your leads. You've got a few ways that you can do that. And I've put up three that I can think of. Three that I use on a regular basis. And I don't think that they're all created equal. I think that engaging in comments on your posts and on other people's posts and doing the group diving, all of that stuff, I think it's fair. I think it's a fair way. That is really going to do more about building your network, though, than it is going to be about identifying the lead. It's once the person is open to moving that conversation into a direct communication between you and them, whether that's on the phone, in DMs. I have one lady that loves to write back and forth in email. She's such a sweetheart. So writing back and forth, direct emails back and forth where you're having a conversation, that absolutely works. Doing your follow-ups. So you had a conversation with person A last week and you set a plan that you're going to follow up with them this week, put them on the list. That qualifies as one of your daily actions. But it's really about asking questions of them, uncovering what their problem is that they're experiencing, uncovering whether or not they're ready to solve it. That's what we're talking about. That's how we qualify the leads. So I'm going to stop sharing again. And I know Aoife Aoife will definitely have some ideas on this one. What are some other ways, Aoife, that I'm just going to see if I can
I'm going to have a screamer any moment now. So
yeah,
probably
that's
need to
okay.
turn.
Quickly. Are there any other
So,
ways that you can think of to do direct outreach and or have a conversation that allows you to qualify a lead?
what I always do is solve what I can see is a constant frustration. So what I do is I really research the people, see if I can actually help them. Kick that algorithm so that they're showing to me. I can see where they're commenting in other groups, and then if I can solve their constant frustration, I get in, I solve it, no questions asked, and that's it.
Okay.
That's
Are
that's
you
what I
are you
do.
usually doing that on commenting, or are you doing that over in DM normally?
I'll watch them in the big groups and see
Okay.
all the information they're getting that's out there.
Okay. Okay.
And then I will just, with no caveat, go and give them one of my famous spreadsheets, Danielle.
Okay. If you've ever worked with Aoife, she loves spreadsheets almost as much as I do.
Yes, we are twins, but they
We
work.
are doing it. They do.
We are. No, that's what I've been doing for 8 years. So I don't do the
Okay.
spray and pray. I don't do the
Okay.
that kind of thing. I haven't done that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it is just
Okay.
about building those honest relationships, but just giving the solution without any caveat whatsoever.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, that's what has always stood to me.
Okay.
Because I genuinely am in it to, it's not, my driver isn't money. It is about, I work with less people now that my prices have gone up, but I work with the right type of people. I'm very specific about who I will work with. But as a startup, I know that's not going to be helpful, or somebody who is struggling. But it's the hard yards and the lag time, but being known for solving those problems. It's know, like, and trust.
Mhm.
Know, like, and trust. So that's,
Yep.
but it is when you go back down and like something, maybe not not the first two pictures on somebody that really looks ideal, and you leave a comment, you'll kick that algorithm, so they'll show you through the different groups. You can kind of follow them around. You'll see them in the other groups that you're in. And then you'll get your chance. Like, at the end of the day, you're looking for, we don't want to be booking 20, 30 calls a week. That's nightmare.
A nightmare.
Just having,
Joanne's
3
like,
to
what
5.
is it?
No, it's an absolute nightmare. No, but having 3 honest, like, I mean, if you got a 3K offer, having 2 robust conversations weekly.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you're working, it's going to be a longer funnel. It's going to be a longer dividend, but there'll be no dragging people by the knuckles. They know that you
Yep.
are the expert. So in order to keep it, you have to give it away. That's what was taught to me years ago. When I went online, in order to keep it, you have to give it away.
And I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
And
why we should.
That's okay. Keep going.
That's why we
Sorry.
share the same value system, though, because we are here to help entrepreneurs that are starting up, because there's too much disingenuous stuff that's going on, and also people get burnouts. I mean, the idea of sitting down and sending 100 DMs a day, I wouldn't have the time.
No.
So that's why you're in business 30 years and I'm 21 years kicking around. It's that longer term, and I suppose that's your esoteric leadership. You've got to control your state and know that it's going to happen. You know that is, so fast cash, you can have your fast cash. Also, what I do, and if I can just say, see this reprieve of this for me. I don't go and send sticky leads, but I do create something of real value for £7. So instead of taking out ads, someone pays me £7 and I get them into my email marketing. But I give them something super for £7 that solves this startup problem.
Oh, you
Or
mean my
whatever.
DM workbook and video course? Oh, that one that we talked about.
£7, right? £7 on your bio.
Yeah.
But it's like you'll see something really epic from me. It's what I lecture in university, so I'm just bringing it into for online coaches, and it's going to be $7,
Okay.
right?
Awesome.
And so that's so get paid for your leads as well. So everyone's got the £7 to consume you, and then that's Claire told you she's finished. She told you everyone she's finished her 12 supper.
Okay, good.
But you're getting paid for your lead as well. So, and
Yeah.
people that put their hand in the pocket with that £7, as you well know, Danielle, they're more qualified than ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that
Yeah.
is one of the things that I was going to touch on next. So in terms of the where and the how, absolutely adding value, I think, is a great way to do that. Totally agree with you. In the sense of giving away really valuable things or charging £7. Doing group diving can be effective if you've got time. I did it for the first 6 months in my business. It can be effective, but it's not about putting a post up. The posts rarely get noticed. It's when you leave comments. I've got an example of a comment I made the other day where I gave basically in a paragraph the overview of what we're talking about today, those 3 fundamental actions that you need to do in your business daily. And it was, what's the best piece of advice you can give to a startup? And it's about the consistency of your action and about sticking to these fundamentals. That comment, I believe, has 40 reactions to it. It had 8 or 10 follow-up comments and questions. And so I think it's the commenting itself. And as you're saying, Aoife, it's about solve the problem that is most pressing in your ideal client's mind. What is the thing that is keeping them awake at night? And I think that for startups in particular, it's what the heck am I supposed to do every day? For a 6-figure business owner, it's okay. I kind of got here by the seat of my pants. I didn't really have a process. I didn't really have something that I could duplicate on a regular basis, right? So it's about creating that system, that process, and understanding what did work and what didn't. And that's where I come in. Chanel keeps coming and going, so I'm not sure if she'll be back again. But let's just go back for a second if we can, unless Joanne's right. Joanne, did you have any ideas of other ways? No? All right, let's come back over here. Oh, I've got to stop that. Turn my camera off here. Isn't this fun? Share my screen again. As I said, if you know me, you know that the technology is not always my friend. Okay, so in terms of qualifying your leads, engaging comments and conversation is fair, but that's kind of indirect. It's once that moves into a now we're directly having and I'm asking you questions. If that's what you're doing in comments, fabulous. Then I would move that into great. If the person is then saying, yeah, reach out to me in DM. Yes, I want to tell me more. That is a great one rather than just a fair one. Sending DM messages to new prospective leads and follow-ups with previous ones, absolutely great. But the real kicker of it is ask questions about the source of their problem. I'm just going to see if that was Chanel and try to let her in. There we go. She's back. Okay. And doing it in a direct one-to-one conversation. So the third fundamental action. So we talked about building your audience. Oops. We talked about building your audience. We talked about qualifying your leads, qualifying your prospects. So all those people that you threw in the top of the funnel, they're not leads. They're not prospects. They're just audience building. That's just building your network, right? If you think about any of the big companies, Pepsi shows their products. I'd always go back to Pepsi. Pepsi ads go out to everybody, but they have a specific avatar in mind. And that's why all of their ads revolve around the activities, actions, and relationship types that the person in their ideal client pool has. It happens to be a 20-odd-year-old man, athletic one, etc. That doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't going to appeal to a broader audience. So I don't want you to think that qualifying a lead, it goes back to the ideal client conversation. You still need to have that ideal client conversation. It makes your content laser focused. Doing the qualifying, having a better ideal client avatar allows you to ask better questions. It allows you to be able to identify certain things that your person is going to respond back to you. And you can then say, perfect. Or you can say, oh, actually, that's not, I'm going to refer them off to Chanel. I'm going to refer them off to Joanne. I'm going to refer them off to Aoife. So knowing that clearly who they are allows you to qualify them better. And then the third one that we're talking about, Michelle Ward is coming in. We'll let Michelle in. So this making offers, it's about making a direct offer. So you'll see my first note there about how in marketing an offer is any free paid product. You can read that. But that's an act of audience building. It's not an act of making an offer in this sense. Making an offer is direct. So it's the thing that's happening in those one-to-one conversations. So as you're doing those outreaches and you're having those conversations in the comments when you were doing your qualifying step, I like to keep a page where I've got people's names and I know what I've done with them so far, so that when I'm going back, I have a specific system and rotation of how many days between contacts that I do. I have different stages that I want them to connect with me through in my funnel. And if you want help with that, Chanel's a great one to help you with that. In terms of what are the specific pre-qualifying things that your ideal client needs to have, so that you can make sure they've got the right mindset, that they've got the right skills and experience. Chanel's really great at that. But this making offers is literally about asking a person about their problem, uncovering what their motivation is to solve it, and then asking, would you like some help with that? That's really what it is. Would you like some help with that? And it's not saying, hey, buy my stuff, right? It's not saying, hey, buy my stuff. It's asking, would you like some help with that? When you say, would you like some help with that, that's making an offer, right? So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about making offers. It's not just putting up an offer post. That offer post is like an ad. It's the same as your local grocery store putting out a flyer every week and saying, hey, look, cucumbers are only 77 cents, right? It's the same thing. Some people will be great. Some people won't. Making an offer is a direct one-to-one conversation in this situation that we're talking about. And I've written down a couple of things there. It could, again, be in DM. It could be phone, could be text, could be email conversations. So there's all kinds of different ways to make an offer to somebody, but it is about the direct communication. When you send out an email that has an offer on it, unless you are selling something that is here, click on this and buy it now, right? If it's a buy now in the email, then that would be making an offer, but you wouldn't qualify all 1,600, all 15,000 people in your email unless you didn't make 15,000 offers today. So it's a bit of a fine line on that one. And that's why I really do specify it down to these one-to-one conversations of phoning, texting, and email, because you don't know how many people are actually, engaging with that. Sometimes people will click on open accidentally, or if they're like my inbox, just because I sat on it for a second and moved on, it marks it as read, but I didn't open it. So that's not making a direct offer. And that's why I say that it's these methods. Does that make sense for everybody? And for anybody who's new, I had mentioned earlier, by all means, interrupt. I can't see hand raising things and those kinds of things because I'm actually in the PowerPoint. So I apologize. We had a bit of a technical glitch in trying to get this streaming into the group. So, okay. So the people that you talk with, I should say, in that qualified leads step, they are not necessarily going to be the same people that you're making offers to. In some cases, it's going to be that you spoke with somebody last week, and last week it was either not the right time to make the offer, or it was follow up with me in a little bit, or it was I'm not ready, right? It could be any reason that they said that it didn't go forward as, yes, I'm going to sign up with you. So the people that you're talking to this week to qualify their leads are not necessarily going to be the people that you're making an offer to. But if you're keeping track of who am I talking to and what step am I at, and I've got a lead tracking spreadsheet I'd be happy to share with anyone. It's really, really basic, and it just kind of carries you on through the basic steps of I did this with them, they read my post, I've engaged on theirs, I've made an offer to them, they've taken my power hour, what's the next offer I'm going to offer, those kinds of things. So super, super simple, one line per client, nice and easy. And it allows you, if you wanted, you can print it, you can handwrite in it. If you'd like that, just let me know. All right. So when you're making offers, it's about the action of buy from me. That's what the offer is. It's the action of hey, buy from me. It's when you're making the offer for them to take an action. So in this case, it could be that you're asking them to fill out a form. So if you have an application process, I know Lisa Smith, for example, has an application process. You have to apply to work with her, and that's one of the ways that she pre-qualifies her leads. For me, it's booking the power hour. That's one of the way that I qualify people into my VIP program, because it's not always good for everybody. So filling out a form is one way, and that could even be market research. That's a way to identify leads, but it's not a way to make an offer unless you're offering it to them at the end. Booking a call, clicking a link, whether it's to your sales page, your landing page, your website, or coming right out and saying, hey, buy my stuff. Those are what the action is in a call to action. Call to actions to buy are different from call to actions to engage. And so when we're talking about this, if you're doing an offer post and you're saying, send me a DM, leave me a comment, buy my stuff, click my link, book a call, fill out this form, check out the application in my bio, any of those things, right? But that is doing it direct that you want to do. And that's when it's making offers. When you're putting it in a post, it's just advertising. It's a totally different thing. And that's audience building and a little bit of qualifying of leads. It's not making offers. Does that make sense? And again, feel free to take yourself off of mute. Okay. So those are the 3 fundamental daily actions that are going to strategically move your audience through your funnel. And as Aoife was talking earlier, in what she was saying is, it may be a short ride, it may be a long ride. From the time that you've poured all of that goodness, all of that bulk amount of people into the top of your funnel, the audience building step, from the time you've done that to doing the qualifying process, which is the second fundamental, having those conversations to qualify people. And in that case, commenting on a post where you've asked a direct question of, do you experience this? Have you ever done that? When you're asking people to identify elements of your ideal client avatar and they say, yeah, that's me, those hand raising posts, that can be one of those qualifying steps. And then there's making offers. So all of your connections are the audience building. Qualifying is where you're doing the outreach and conversations. Once you're making direct offers, now they become prospects. And I mentioned before, I prefer the word prospects over leads. And then, of course, eventually you're going to convert them. So what we want to do now is we actually want to calculate what your own ratio is. So I'm going to ask people to take themselves off of mute because I want to be able to put in real numbers. I have a worksheet that I'm going to share with everybody so that you can actually play with it yourself. There are 2 parts in it where you have to do a little bit of estimating. So for example, unless you know specifically 100% how much of your current audience actually lines up with your ideal client avatar, it's a bit of a guesstimate, right? And the other one would be, how many weeks of the year are you actually doing? Whoops. Let me stop sharing that. Sorry about that. How many weeks of the year are you actually doing lead generating? Because maybe you're not working all 52 weeks. I'm back. If you're not working all 52 weeks, then we want to account for that, because you still need to do it from the top down. That's how I do it. We're going to start by looking at, what is your annual revenue goal, your annual income goal, your sales goal. So let me show you my spreadsheet. Colorful. Okay, so hopefully you can see everything. Okay, so who would like to be my guinea pig volunteer for this? Anybody? 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 No? Okay.
I don't mind. I'll do it.
You'll do it? Okay, thanks, Lisa. All right, so how many weeks a year are you working?
42.
42. Okay, what is your income or revenue goal?
300K.
Pick a number. 300. What is either your average sale price or your core offer price? I figure you may actually know your average sale price, but what's your core offer price, Aoife?
It's 7.5K.
Okay. How many offers do you make a week?
Depends. It depends on the week. It depends on the conversations had and if they're appropriate. But I would make, I try and make an offer a day the 5 days that I work.
Okay, so 5. And do you have a clue how many leads you are adding to your funnel each week? The ones that you said, these are qualified. I'm going to follow up with this person. I'm going to keep an eye on this person.
Yeah, about 25 really good quality ones. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How many sales conversations are you having per month?
Around 10 quality sales calls.
Okay. And how many new customers would you say you sign on average per month?
I sign 1 a week minimum.
Okay. So we're going to say 4. So for those that were just watching, you probably saw a bunch of numbers changing as that was happening. This is a calculator, so it's actually doing all of the math for you. You just need to know the green spaces and the white spaces. That's it. And I'll change the color of these ones because these ones are also auto-calculating. So this is just the dashboard to put your information in. This is the one that actually matters. Okay. We talked about audience building being how many people am I adding to my network every week? How many am I adding every day? How many am I adding every year? In order for Aoife to achieve that $300,000 annual goal, she needs 40 clients a year at $7,500. That's what she needs. So what that means from a work back perspective, from a math back perspective, is that in order to get those 40 clients, she needs to sign 1 client a week, which sounds like you're already doing, Aoife. Yay. So it's not that, Aoife, you necessarily need to change anything, but when you are ready to scale, if you were to say to me, well, I'm at 3 now and I want to get to 6, for example, it's not necessarily that you're going to double your current actions. And I think this is the part that's really vital about all of this, is that it's not necessarily double everything I'm doing now. It could be that you need to spend more time building your audience. It could be that you need to spend more time actually identifying and qualifying leads. That is most commonly the area that people are spinning their wheels and wasting their time, is on the qualifying leads. And I say that because they're having conversations with people, whether it's in DM or on comments, or going off and continuing to think, oh, I like Chanel so much and I really want to work with Chanel, but I've not had any conversation with Chanel. And I'm sorry to pick on you, Chanel. Not had any conversation with Chanel to identify, does she meet my criteria for an ideal client? That's the part that most are missing. And that's the one that I think that we need to be more strategic on. The making direct offers will happen as a natural halo effect of doing that qualifying of leads. Once you start to learn how to qualify the leads, you then start to see what the buying signals are. And that's when you start to be able to say, would you like some help with that? Right? Does that make sense? Okay. So in this case, in order for Aoife to achieve her goal, we've got 3 columns. This is what she needs to do every year. This is what she needs to do in the middle column every month. And if she wants to break it down, so depending on how you think, how far ahead are you thinking? I worked with a woman last week that has some significant neurological things going on. She doesn't know from one day to the next, am I going to be able to do these things? So for her, we set it up that her number is a weekly number rather than a daily number. You can continue to break this down again if you wanted to, needed per day. Right?
Yep.
And you divide that by how many days a week are you working. Oops, undo that. Sorry. La 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 la. I hid my thing. We're not going to worry about it. Pretend you work 5 days a week. That's hilarious. Right? So now we would know that Aoife needs to add 5 people a day to her audience, whether she's doing that using my Crane system, which is the one that uses suggested friends, or whether she's doing that by being introduced to people within her network through referrals, whether that means she's going group diving and looking for those specific people, whether that means she's going to a networking event. No matter which method she's using of building her network, she knows my goal is to do 5 a day in order to reach my big goal of $300,000 a year. I'm going to do it with a 6-figure typical business, right? So 100,000 with a core offer of 2,500. Okay, we're going to talk about me. So to get $100,000 a year, if my offer is $2,500, it means I still need 40 people. It's only 40 people. That would mean I need 3 per month. How do I get 3 clients a month? Excuse me, what are the intentional actions that I would need to take to get 3 clients a month? And in my case, I'm actually doing 10 offers a week. I'm always adding 50 to my funnel. Okay. So once again, I know that in a year, I only need to be adding actually 240 people to my audience, whether that's through my networking, whether that's through Facebook friend suggestions, whether that's through doing group diving, no matter what the method is, sign up for my email list. 240 people a year are going to help me get to my goal. The idea behind audience building, though, is that we're not just adding every Tom, Dick, and Harry. We are looking specifically for the people that have somehow shown us that they are potentially an ideal client. In the Crane system, the first step is a compatibility check. The Crane system is my audience building, my signature audience building system. The compatibility check is the first thing. Aoife was talking earlier about going to people's profiles and looking for things, going 2 to 3 deep, right? And looking at their post beyond. That's how you're going to find, is this person a potentially ideal client? Just looking at friend suggestions and add. You're going to fill your audience with a lot of people that don't necessarily line up for your offer, right? So I need to add 6 people a week. I need to have 6 direct conversations to qualify people. And I need to make a minimum of 1 offer. And the reason I only need to make 1 is because I have a very high close rate. So that's why on this sheet, there's all of these questions, because your daily actions are affected by what's my goal, what's my close rate, right? And how good am I at adding leads to my funnel? Does that make sense? Let me just close that. Does that make sense? So I wanted to have a few more moments. Actually, I guess I should, because, you know, the proper thing to do is to make an offer to you. So I told you before who it is that I help and how I help them. I help you to find those big opportunities in your business, to help you to grow your business, to increase your revenue, to increase your sales through one of 4 ways. That's what we are looking to do. And so I offer 2 ways to work with me. One of them is in a power hour. It's a low entry price to kind of feel us out, see if we're a good fit for each other, and to really just kind of identify very quickly what's the number 1 opportunity that I have in my business. I do a shallow dive into your metrics. So I'm looking at your current business's current performance year to date. I'm also looking at your social media activity and how well you're bringing people through your funnel. Those are the things that I'm doing. And then I provide you with feedback in the form of a keep, stop, start. Keep doing this, stop doing that, start doing that. And then the other one that I offer is a VIP experience. This one is specifically for businesses who are already at 6 figures, who already know that they're ready to scale, and they are wanting to be able to make some big decisions about, do I do this or do I do that? Do I go and get that sales training so that I can improve my close rate? Should I go and take that lead generation training instead? Should I hire a VA? Should I bring in an appointment setter? Should I get a high ticket closer? Do I need an accountant at this point? It's about making those kinds of big decisions. It's also about where am I spending my time and how can I make this more effective and efficient? So that's the VIP experience. That one is 4 hours and it is including 30 days of implementation support on Messenger. So now we're on to questions. So like an open forum, I'd love to hear what your questions are. Hit me with your rhythm stick. So if anybody, sorry, he was like, really, of all the songs, Danielle. All right. I was trying not to rush through too quickly, but being aware of, everybody's time being valuable, I also wanted to do it within the hour. I'm notorious for taking longer. I think I did pretty good, 52 minutes. Let's talk questions. What questions might you have about how to calculate that? I will share that workbook so that you can calculate your own. If you find that, oh my gosh, Excel, no thank you. Spreadsheets, numbers, I'm no good with it. If you've got something that makes you go, whoa, and you want some support to do that, we can always book a power hour. I only do 10 of them a month. So spaces are limited. I did have a waiting list last month, and I think I've only got 3 left this month, but I've got spots available for September. So that is always an option. Hit me with your questions. Aoife, you must have a question. Chanel, you must have a question. The other 2 ladies had to go.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wanted to get to bounce something off you, and I will be coming to you when the time is right. But I revisited when I was on holidays something that I strayed away from about demographics dividing and psychographics uniting. Okay, so I've really gotten into the belief systems and the value systems of my people, and I've reduced the amount of outreach, but I'm going more psychographic led rather than demographic. Because let's face it, like, we know men that love the Barbie movie, and we know women that love the Barbie movie. Right?
Absolutely.
They can be 80 or they can be 20. So that's so I just wanted your view on it.
I think the demographics have a place from the but psychographics would potentially cover this as well. You're not going to talk to a 50-year-old the way you talk to a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You're not, right? So I think there are some elements. You won't talk to a gay man the way you will a straight man. There are different things that they're focused on. So, you might say partner in a gay man. You might say husband. I don't know. I guess it depends on the person and their relationship. But psychographics are really interesting because I think they focus more on motivation. I think they focus more on values. And I think they focus more on
desires.
Yeah, I was going to say hopes and dreams, but desires. And so I think that psychographics have an enormous amount of value for us, but I wouldn't fully discount. The other reason as well is if you're looking at doing any marketing on social media, people aren't choosing their platform as a result of, they're choosing their platform based on where the hell are my friends?
Yeah, exactly.
20-something friends are on, well, I don't know if it's still Snapchat, but it was Snapchat for a while, right? But younger generations are gearing more to the fast and furious content, the reels, the TikTok, the shorts, all of those other things. Where Gen X, you will find us on YouTube.
Or Facebook. Yeah.
Or Facebook. Boomers are on Facebook.
Yeah.
How do they use it? Lifestyle connection on Instagram versus meaningful conversation on Facebook versus I just want to network my business on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I get you. No, yeah. I think everything comes back to the true affinity that we truly should have with our potential clients that we're bringing into our world. And I think all roads will lead there regardless. So we can look at demographics or psychographics, but it was just I read an interesting thing on holiday, and when I'm connecting with people, obviously it is their hopes, dreams, desires, and that's obviously. But
Most
I mean,
tools-
I have an audience problem at the minute because I've reduced. I'm putting in more direct leads as
Okay,
to whom I wish
awesome.
to work with. So I'm going to do a big clear out.
Yeah.
And then my workload is going to reduce again after that. So yeah, it all comes back, doesn't it, to the leads. So yeah.
It does. It does. And I think that with audience building, this belief that you need to have a huge audience is, I'll agree with the side that says not necessary at all. I've never had an audience bigger than 1,500. I can't imagine trying to build a relationship with 1,500 people as it is. But I
No.
don't want to have superficial interaction with people. I want to have
Mm.
inside jokes. I want to have had an actual conversation with people
Yeah.
and have I like that. That's how I want to build my network. And I think if you're doing it your way, when you're saying I'm being really strategic, I'm kind of really zeroing in on the qualifiers, the psychographic information, and I'm only adding those people and I'm doing a huge clear out of everybody else. I think you're going to find that saves you an enormous amount of time. It makes your business far more efficient.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful thing. You'll also increase your revenue, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes without saying, because now you're speaking to an audience of people that are ready for it.
True.
No convincing then.
No. And top tip, when you do have that really wonderful lead on LinkedIn, searching for them on Facebook and adding them in is just wonderful. So yeah, that's
Okay.
opened up a few avenues as well, because people are warmer on Facebook. But listen, I've really enjoyed this. We'll have to do this in my group. You'll have to come into my
Okay.
group and do this. Okay.
The more often I do it, the smoother it goes. So there you go. I love that.
Absolutely. And then I'll share with you the pillar content tool and marketing tool, and we can get that out there. It's been fantastic. I really enjoyed it. But I must get this little lady to bed. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. All righty. So
I have a question.
you have a
I don't-
question.
Yes. Oh, it's question. Actually, it's two. Now that I think about it, because you mentioned something that I found interesting. And I don't know if I heard it right. So I'm like, okay, I wanted to ask. Yeah, the machine is almost done. But I wanted to know if you mentioned that posting on social, I think, is not the same as asking for a sale. So posting on social with a CTA, was that it?
Yeah. That's
It's not the same as asking for the sale. And I found that pretty interesting because I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
okay. Well, then I'm unique. I don't know what else to say about that. I guess I'm unique. Making an offer is like putting out an ad. Like I said, it's like putting out a flyer, but it's not until the person arrives at the grocery store that now it's actually an intent to purchase. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's just an ad in my mind. So putting out an offer and saying, if you'd like to reach out to me, right? So there's always a call to action on those offer posts. And it's about the action the person's going to take, in my mind, that now you can have the direct conversation. So the person reaches out to you and says, tell me more. And you give them more information and you follow it up with a question. How does that sound to you? Does this sound like something you'd be interested in? What do you think? Does this sound like it's a good fit for you? Maybe you're saying, would you like to jump on a call and we could talk about this a little bit further? Maybe you're just using DMs and you're, doing qualifying questions. But it's about the direct conversation that you're having, where then you can personally make the offer. It's the communication. I have only had, oh no, and I'm even thinking of them. They still reached out to me. I was going to say I've only had a couple of people just book without talking to me, and twice I've had people book without ever talking to me. And otherwise, there was always something in the messenger. Even if, like when I started offering the power hours as an example, I had quite a few people who I had never heard from before, had never engaged within my content, who reached out to me in DM and said, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about that power hour? I'm really interested. And it only took 1 to 2 questions and they were booked. So it can be a really fast process in there. But it's one of the things that I like to suggest to people is don't put your booking link in your, don't put any links outside of Facebook in your actual post. But I like to suggest don't put your booking link in the comments. The reason for that is most of us don't have a pre-qualifying process in the booking process, in the booking funnel. And Chanel, you will know how important that is. If you don't know Chanel, she is the queen of all things pre-qualifying in terms of, best fit clients, having the boundaries to make sure that you are honoring yourself as well as honoring them, setting your clients up for success. So that pre-qualifying process, in my world, that is an absolute essential. I have had too many experiences of working with people that I loved, but who weren't ready. Whether it was that they didn't, they hadn't been in business long enough, they were still in a mindset of, I can't do that. I can't do that. If they're still saying, I can't, they weren't a good fit for me because I'm an I can, and I need people who are I can. You know what I mean? I know.
Yes, I definitely get that. And I think that's
qualifying. That's what the DM conversation is for. So.
That's a good point too. And I think that goes back to what you and Aoife were just talking about in terms of psychographics, where as you were talking, it sort of hit me that, hey, understanding the psychographics and being willing to use that also ties back straight into how you're going to be able to serve your clients anyway. Because if you're talking to a bunch of old people and then you're expecting a bunch of old people to come in and know technology,
right,
and automate it too,
perfect.
You are in for the shock of your life, where that's concerned. So it ties back in terms of that pre-qualifier again. The second thing I had for you, and I know you talked about sales from like a social media standpoint and all of that. And I was actually curious around how would somebody say use your crane methodology and some of the key actions that you talked about from, yes, I listened, Danielle, you're over there smiling. And some of the action points that you talked about, say in an off social media setting, say for example with a blog or one-to-one connecting at networking events, sort of thing to leverage that in their business.
Okay, so the steps in the crane, my signature audience building. Sorry, I shouldn't say that so tongue-in-cheek. It is my signature. I did come up with it. I did. Anyway, so the crane is, the 5 steps are compatibility check. So this is going beyond the superficial surface stuff, looking deeper into the profile, spending a minute to 2 in the profile, and or as Eva was talking about, going and looking for them in groups. This is something that I actually do when I'm doing their profile check. First of all, I'm looking at what are they talking about in their content. Are they at the place that I would need them to be? Are they further behind or are they further ahead? If they're further ahead, I'm still probably going to add them. And the reason I'm going to do that is because my offers are going to evolve. My offers are going to get to the stage where they are going to eventually be a good fit. So I would still keep them in there because they become a future potential. But one of the things that I do when I'm doing that compatibility check is I go into their about section, and in there it lists groups that people are in. Go and click on a group that you might be in together and go and search their name inside that group. What are the questions that they're asking? What are the topics that they're bringing up? What are the topics that they're engaging on? That's going to give you a lot of information about a little bit more about that psychographic, but it's going to help you to understand what stage of their business they are in. So that's one thing. In terms of doing that with networking, I think that what I would do in that case, Chanel, is I would create some qualifying questions that I would have figured out how to work into conversation. So whenever you go to a networking event, oh, what do you do with yourself, right? I might then say to them, what is it you love about what you do? You've already told the whole group what it is that you do. I can see from looking at you, or I can make assumptions about it. I don't care what it is you do so much as I care about what are you passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would ask a question like that. I might ask them a question like, you know, I love talking about people's passion. That's one of
Yeah.
the things that I really matters to me, is that the people I work with have passion. So I might ask them a question like, you know, I always love to ask this question when I meet, and I start it like that. I always love to ask this question when I meet new people. It's kind of a tough one. Are you ready? Now I'm revealing a little bit about my persona, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're developing rapport. And the question is, what is something that you think is worth fighting for?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're revealing, a lot of people will talk about their family, but other
Mm-hmm.
people will talk about equal rights. Other people will talk about, you know, water accessibility, like access to drinking water. Other people will talk about homelessness. Other people will talk about, when they start talking to me about that, first of all, I'm an introvert and I can't stand superficial talk, so it draws me in and I'm
Yes.
totally engaged and I want to be there, right? So if you're an introvert, this can be a great ice-breaking question. Now you're asking them to talk about their passion, right? So this is one of the ways that you are already qualifying them to add them to your network. So that's the compatibility check.
Mm-hmm.
Request the friend would be the second step, right? So on Facebook, you're going to hit the add friend. And even if somebody has a professional dashboard, you can still click the ellipsis, the three dots. You don't have to just click follow. Click that three dots. It says add friend. You can still add the friend. Requesting a friend in a networking event, right? Or, and you could do the same thing in a blog, by the way, with the compatibility. Invite comments. Ask people to leave comments. Or if you know that your clients, for example, are hanging out on a particular social media platform, ask them to engage with you and your brand by having a customized hashtag that you've created, right? And like Chanel, yours could have been hashtag Pink Flamingo for people to talk about boundaries. Hashtag
Oh,
Pink
yeah.
Flamingo. So now they go on Instagram, they go on Facebook, they go on TikTok, and they're putting up some content of their own, right? And then they're putting the hashtag. And the reason they do that is because you have said, I'll go looking for it, I'll personally comment on it. Right? So you can then go on each of these platforms and just go and do, you can even just go into Google and do the hashtag Pink Flamingo and show you all kinds of different places where people are engaging with that.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is about building your network, requesting their friend, having that interaction. Adjusting your favorites is the third step in the Crane system. So on Facebook, you can add 30 people to friends. To favorites, I mean. And those favorites will be the people that will be given first priority to show up in your feed. When you engage on people's content, right? So when you are making comments and then having conversation back and forth with them on their posts, they start to see your posts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a backdoor way of getting your stuff in front of your ideal clients
Mm-hmm.
intentionally.
Makes
So
sense.
in terms of, right. So in terms of how would you do that in a networking event, I think in that case, it's going to be about, you know, asking for each other's contact details, asking each other to, you know, connect on whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is that you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then going out and being intentional about finding them, being intentional about sending a message to them. Hey, so glad we could connect here. I'm really looking forward to being in your world. Like, I'm making these things up as I go, but I'm so looking forward to, because I don't use my Crane system, but now I think I might. That's a great question, Chanel. The next one is about nurturing. Nurturing is your content. Nurturing could be that you send them a DM, right? Nurturing could be that they receive your email. Nurturing could be that they get visibility and access to all of your content. Nurturing could be that you reach out to somebody because based on the conversation you had last week, there was this problem that you know that they had, and whether you could solve it or whether you knew that somebody else could, following back up with them and saying, hey, remember what we were talking about last week? I saw this post in X group. I immediately thought of you and I thought I would share it with you. Hope you don't mind. So that's another way to have a touch point that helps to solve a problem. But what is the most important about this in my mind, Chanel, is that you are showing this person that they matter to you.
Yep, building relationship.
Right. It's about the relationship. It's about rapport. Rapport is the know and the like, right? Hey, I know you, Chanel. It's the getting to know you that develops my like of you. And it's when you start to be accountable. It's when you start to demonstrate consistency. It's when you start to demonstrate, honesty. Those are the things that create trust. It's also when you start to demonstrate your authority and your expertise. That's when trust starts to develop. Just because I know you and I like you and I think you're a nice lady doesn't mean I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I think my neighbor down the road is a nice lady, but I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. I always think she's got some, ulterior motive for things. So I wonder what was in those cookies. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. But that's the difference.
Well, you could be the neighbor down the street with the cookies that have other neighbors. I'm just saying.
Okay, you're absolutely right. I could be. You're absolutely right. You're too funny. But I think that that's the critical thing, and that's where this direct one-to-one conversation comes in, and why it's so critical. So whether you are doing that, like I have another client who much prefers to be on the phone. I work with a coach who would much prefer to be on the phone than doing video chat calls, right? So what is your preference? What is their preference? Whatever information they're willing to give you to keep in touch with them, take it and use it. If they gave you their phone number, use it.
Yep.
If they said, well, I don't really want to get on your email list, but you can reach out to me. You can send me a text. Send them a text. Take note of it and use that method. What's their preferred method of communication? I think that's another one. But because I'm all about consent-based selling, it's one of the reasons why I invite people in my content to reach out to me or leave a comment in the comment section that is in some way, shape, or form them raising their hand and inviting me. And then I'll always go into the comment section. I always ask, is it okay if I reach out to you in DM? So if you're one of those people that's like, oh gosh, I can't stand DMs, they feel so sleazy and salesy, adjust your process ever so slightly to start making it more invitation based and more consent based, and respect the fact that this is an individual who has the right to say no, and don't take it personally and feel rejection if they do. Then it suddenly goes from feeling really slimy to feeling really good. And I'm incredibly shy and incredibly introverted. I know I don't seem shy, but I wouldn't ask. I would rather have taken the beating from my mother for being late than ask a stranger for the time when I was a kid. So that's how shy I am. New people scare the hell out of me. When I'm familiar with people, I am the craziest person in the room. But with new people, I clam up. I completely shut down. So I do understand the anxiety that can be related to making this direct outreach. But if you set it up for yourself, right, then it can take that edge off. The last step in the crane, by the way, I didn't go beyond nurturing. So step one, compatibility check. Is this person a good fit for me? Do they have some of the markers of my ideal client? Next step is the requesting the friendship, or at a networking event, hey, let's keep in touch. Give me your business card. Let's exchange contact details, whatever that is. We'll connect on social media. Adjusting your favorites. On Facebook, you've got those 30 people. If you're not on Facebook where the 30 favorites is not a possibility, make a list. Make a list for yourself. Who are the 30 people that I am intentionally going and following their stuff and commenting and interacting? And that is your step one to doing the qualification process, right? Because then that leads into nurturing. And then finally, the last step is evaluating. At what point do you say to yourself, okay, this is a not now prospect, or this is a not ever prospect? Evaluating and reducing the amount of time you're spending continuing to follow up with people that are not evers, that is a huge waste of time. And I know we've all done it. I've done it myself. When you have that sense of urgency to grow your business, it can create actions that we wouldn't normally do. And it does come out of a little bit of desperation. And so all of these steps all of these know your numbers, you know, that min max is if you know that you need to be doing 10 outreaches per week, you can set yourself up, okay, so when the world goes to hell or my life falls apart and I simply cannot give any attention to my business, what's the absolute minimum I'm going to do? I'm going to do a minimum of one of each thing per day. And if it's to make offers, you could say, you know what? I'm not going to do one a day, but I'm going to do a minimum of 3 a week. So you can create minimums where you are making sure that you're staying consistent, because your consistency is part of what builds trust. It's also going to help you to develop that systematic approach to things so that when things are going well, you can look back and go, oh, it was because A or B. Maybe it was A and B. But if you just went along willy-nilly and you didn't know, you don't know if I'm spending my time effectively or ineffectively. You don't know, now that I'm ready to scale, should I double this one, or all of them? And so this is why I like to have these base numbers. They just help to create clarity. They help to create simplification. I know I've got a lot of acronyms that I use, you know, CRANE and all the others, DMOs, blah, blah. Ignore that. 3 basic actions to do each day. Build your network, build your audience, qualify your prospects, qualify your leads by asking questions, uncovering what their problem is, and identify for yourself, do they have the minimum things that I need to be in place to make this a good fit client? And then the third one is making offers. That could happen all in one conversation. For most people, that's going to happen over a period of time. And that's why I said those people that you're qualifying today may not be the people that you're making offers to. That makes sense?
It does.
Okay. Awesome.
Definitely does.
Awesome.
You
Well,
have me
thank you so
thinking
much
about
for
the
coming.
now or nevers.
The now or nevers, right?
Yeah.
Listen, most of them are, I would say that the majority of people, when you make a new connection, especially with the sensitivity that we've all got about the, geez, I barely even know you. At least buy me dinner. Right?
But even these days, there are people who are buying people dinner, wanting people to buy them dinner, and they know they never go to them after.
Right. And this is the thing. So to reduce the number of ghosts, having this structure for yourself does 2 things. It builds your confidence to keep doing this every day. It also increases your resilience against rejection. Right?
That's
It does.
good.
Believe it or not, it does build your resilience against rejection.
I agree.
Right? Awesome. Of course you do. All right. Thank you all very, very much. I am going to stop recording now. And if you have any questions at all, please do leave them down below. If you want to talk to me about booking a power hour or even a VIP day, if you're already at 6 figures and you're saying to yourself, I really want to be able to move to the next 6 figures, right? I'm at 100,000, I want to get to 200. I'm at 200, I want to get to 400. My goal is to help you to double your revenue without doubling the amount of time and money that you're putting into it or effort. And it doesn't always mean that you need a team. It doesn't always. There are ways to still get to the 300, 400,000 without having a team. Automations are a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for your time today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will absolutely get back to you. And I will also put in the group, and I think Carolyn's going to make us a guide. I will leave the 2 files. File number 1 is how to calculate your know what to do every day. File number 2 is my very basic lead tracking document. And if you want me to tag you on any of my information about the CRANE system, let me know. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.